Pandemic and the economic fallout has left a number of Americans in need of assistance. Food banks, where low-income Americans can turn to survive, are now struggling themselves. They are overwhelmed by people desperate for help.
It's the speed that this is hitting us that is making it so difficult to contend with. The current inventories that we have in place were not designed to serve the numbers of people who need help now.
Hardly ideal, then, that food bank donations have been cut in half at a time when queues are growing rapidly. In just 1 week, over 3 million Americans have turned to meal centers, banks, and kitchens for any help that they can get. It's an issue that goes far wider as well. Production and American agriculture is on the brink. As a result, it means that the food supply is fast becoming a global problem.
We risk a looming food crisis unless measures are taken fast to protect the most vulnerable, keep global food supply chains alive, and mitigate the pandemic's impacts across the food system.
In a situation like this, the policies of individual countries can have a global impact. In the United States, here, essentially, workers are not getting any extra pay for the risk they take when it comes to coronavirus spreading. As a result, agricultural workers are demanding more as they work to keep the shelves of our supermarkets full.
It's almost overnight that food workers went from being an afterthought in people's minds to suddenly being essential work. It should not have taken a pandemic of global proportions for us to realize that food workers literally feed us.
Some fear that this could be too little too late, with the supply chain already in danger of breaking down. It seems that amid the pandemic, the very fabric of everyday life in the United States is coming apart.
Unfortunately, our federal government, despite having all the warning signs, did not take them very, very seriously. And they did not do preliminary planning that would prevent the need for people to have to wait online and have to depend on food banks. In a moment like this is not just poor people or low wealth people who have to depend on this food. This is affluent elderly people and affluent middle class people who have recently been laid off. We also have farm workers who are not protected and are not being given the pertinent information that they need to protect themselves and their children. Many of these farm workers are also undocumented people, and even the Phase 3 stimulus that we just passed in the United States does not apply to them. So they are not covered, they're not protected, they're ill-informed, and that is a recipe for a really, really big crisis. If we don't have people who can harvest our food that are healthy, that food is going to rot, that food is not going to be distributed. COVID-19 is basically a magnifying glass, an elucidation on all of the systems in our country that were already in crisis, the food system being one of them.